All right, welcome. I am James Oliver Jr., co-founder and CEO of Kabila, an inclusive co-founder matching app and global community for tech startup founders. You could, if you're looking for a co-founder, you could feel free to join our co-founder waiting list at joinkabila.com or tap into an amazing community of global founders also at joinkabila.com. And look, I'm super excited today because like many of you out there raising capital, we just finished Techstars Austin, and we spent our entire time there doing customer discovery. And while we were there, the fundraising or the investor landscape changed, and coming out with pre-product, pre-revenue, investors are not so keen to support those projects anymore. So we're in this really weird fundraising space, and we also know it's just hard in general, and it's hard for BIPOC and women founders. So I'm like, what can we do to be helpful? So I reached out to my man Sedale Turbovsky. Sedale is the here we go, drop that. Open Grants CEO, opengrants.io, and I asked Sedale to come in, talk about Open Grants, talk about some specific grants on the platform that you can apply to today, answer all your questions, and let's just do all the things, and let's just get right into this. So if you go ahead and hey, Brooke from NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center, excited for the conversation. I think you know Brooke, don't you, Sedale?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, Kai. So just drop in the chat if you in the comments. Let us know where you're coming in from, and drop your questions in the chat there, and we'll do our best to get as many questions as possible. So I'm just gonna get right to it here, Sedale. Welcome, buddy. How are you, my man?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, and super excited to chat about grant funding and what that plays. The part that plays in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and just kind of that process. Happy to start wherever is useful.
All right, so what is Open Grants, and what in the world inspired you to start it?
Yeah, so Open Grants is a platform that allows users, people who are looking for grant funding, to sign up, create a profile, and get connected to grant funding. The exciting thing about the platform, and the reason we built this, is I spent a lot of time in the grant funding space. Before that, I worked at a firm where they managed like a multi-billion-dollar portfolio of grant-funded projects, and saw how useful grant money was. But I also saw at the same time how unless you had a consultancy that was pretty high-powered, or unless you knew kind of what was going on in the space, it wasn't super transparent, right? So if you just go on Google and search for grants, you're going to get grants.gov. You might get one or two other sources, but you could spend a lot of time trying to look for grants. And as it turns out, so when I started working on the company and getting deep into it, it turns out people spend up to 40% of their careers. So people who use a lot of grant funding, like researchers and other folks, they spend up to 40% of their careers just wrangling the grant money instead of doing the impactful work that they should be doing. And so we built Open Grants to change that, to make it really easy to find grant funding and to get connected to the people who can help you navigate those funding ecosystems. And so that's what we offer at Open Grants, is you can sign up for free. You can create a profile. We'll match you using AI and ML to 5 grants a week. And then we'll also get you connected to people who are in place to help you secure that grant funding. And some of those folks are certainly paid. But there's also great programs from the federal government and state governments that subsidize these folks. So if you're really bootstrapping, or you just simply don't have it in the budget, you can generally find some people who are paid by the federal government to help you secure this grant funding. So that's what's really exciting for me about what we're offering, is not only the information, but the real, as an entrepreneur myself, I'm I want to know stuff, but I also want to know how to act on it. I want to take steps to get funding, and I can't just be waiting around.
Yeah. Hold on a second. You said a mouthful there. So people create a profile, go to opengrants.io for free, create a profile, and based on the profile, you will use artificial intelligence and machine learning to send them 5 grants a week that you think are a good fit for them based on their profile.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it too is that when you get in there, there's some reinforced learning. So when you get a grant match, you can click yes or no, right? Is this a good match or not? And it'll improve itself. Your matches will improve over time. So that's what you do on the platform. It's really it's a pretty slick way to get an intro to the space.
And then you will introduce them to people who can help them apply for grants.
Yeah, we have a marketplace of folks. So say you find yourself looking at a lot of grant funding from the Department of Energy, or maybe you're looking at a lot of grant funding from the Schmidt Futures Foundation. You can go into our marketplace and search for those orgs, and you can find people who can make those connections for you. They have that network, but they also have a deep understanding of like how those application processes work, and so they can help you fill out the paperwork or whatever. A lot of it's not actually paper anymore, but they can help you fill out the grant, write it up, and get it submitted.
Wow. Okay. So one thing I asked Sedale to do, everyone, is to just pull up some examples of some current grants on the platform to show us. He agreed to. He was a good sport. He agreed to do a screen share. So if you want to pull up a couple of some of these grants on the platform, so people out there, depending on what they're doing, could go and apply to right now. You want to take that over, Sedale?
Yes, certainly. Happy to do it. So let's get this rolling. Here we go. So everyone should see a list of saved grants right now.
There we go. I added it to the stream there.
Awesome. Perfect. So we are, this is a look at, this is obviously just a dummy account that we have set up here for this purpose. But what I did do is I went through and found some grants for entrepreneurs, and I wanted to demonstrate the breadth of opportunity here. So one thing as an entrepreneur, that when you're looking for capital, and I tell everyone this, it helps to get really specific about what you're looking for, because in the grant funding world, there's not a lot of grants. There are some. And one program that I'll mention specifically, like Builders and Backers, great program. I didn't save them here because I'm just going to give them a shout out anyways. Builders and Backers does $5,000 unrestricted grants. And that's really helpful if you're, just getting started, maybe not material after you've built the business, but it's a useful program, and it has there's no restrictions on it, right? Which is pretty rare in the grant space.
It's called Builders and Backers?
Yeah, Builders and Backers, great program. Highly recommend them, especially for early entrepreneurs who are looking to iterate on ideas.
Just $5,000. Like, what are the criteria for a grant like that?
So they often, their application process, I'm not exactly sure how they make their decisions, but the application process is pretty basic. It's just like pitching a VC effectively. So all you're going to do is go to Builders and Backers. They run them in cohorts. So there's a timing aspect to it, but you submit your deck and some other information, and then they get back to you, and they do have they'll tell you on their site what they're looking for. I know the reason, sometimes they do like a focused cohort. So they'll do like a fintech one or something, but yeah.
Amazing. I mean, this is exactly why I should come here and do this. Who couldn't use $5,000 right now? That's amazing.
Yeah, so there's some programs like that, but I guess one of the things I want to get across though is there's not a lot of programs that are just unrestricted, and that's why we built this matching service and the platform, because a lot of times you're going to find. So, for example, you got Johnson & Johnson here, right? Everyone knows that company. They have a really cool grant program, and if you're on the platform, you click View Grant, you click View Original, and it'll take you right to the website. And this is a $50K grant. These are really cool grants, but they're very specific to the pharmaceutical, medical device, and consumer health sectors, right? And so one of the things I encourage everyone to do is get really specific about what you're building and what you're trying to create in the world, and put that into your profile on Open Grants so that your matches can, will really reflect that, right? So that's just one example of a grant program that's available, that's ongoing. And as you can see here on the platform, you also once you have it up, you can, so now it's saved to my profile. You could copy a link to it, send it to other members of your team so they can check it out. And it's free to sign up and get access to all this data. So, onboard as many members of your team as you like. And then you also can add notes and such. So that's that's just an example of one grant program that's out there for those who might be folks in that space. The other thing that I want to throw out there, and this is a really cool program for any companies that are working in tech. So if you're doing research, or you need money to do research on some innovation that you want to bring to market, the SBIR program is incredible. And one of the things you'll notice, so I've popped up this grant, and you'll notice that SBIR, and then you'll notice that this is the National Institute of Food and Ag. So one of the things that's cool about SBIR is it spans a bunch of different agencies. So if you happen to be doing stuff in the defense space, you don't want to go find the food and ag one. You want to find, instead of USDA, you want to go look at DOD. And the reason I bring this up once again is to bring home that concept that like grant funding, generally speaking, you're not going to find like a lot of general grants, but you'll find a lot of specific stuff. So if you come into the platform like, oh man, we're going to change the world of, X, whether that's transportation, or maybe you're building something that helps people who are homeless. Maybe you're, disrupting the housing industry. Like these are all places, like there's all kinds of SBIR programs out there. The cool thing about SBIR is they will fund your research, right? So you don't have to have revenue. You don't have to have a good credit score. You don't have to have anything except for an idea and a business, right? So you need that tax ID, you need your EIN, and then you need your business, and you need to have like a good pitch. But this is like the government's version of VC money, basically. And so they want to fund very specific things, and they roll out all these announcements. And so you can kind of track them here on the platform, or you could Google it as well. But SBIR is this very expansive program that basically authorizes agencies to fund research and innovation done by small for-profit businesses. So that's a really cool opportunity. I would definitely check it out. If you're a new company and you're just trying to get off the ground and bring some kind of innovation to market, and you have, what James mentioned is very accurate, that sometimes it's hard for VCs to get interested in a company that's kind of pre-revenue and like product market fit even. And this is the kind of funding. This is the research money. This is like, hey, it's non-dilutive, so you're not giving up any of your company. You don't have to pay it back. And you get to kind of like figure stuff out, right? They know it and you know it. Like that's a pretty cool match when you're early on.
Yeah. So here's a good question for you, Sedale. Is it okay, or you want to keep going and we could?
No, let's throw them out. Yeah.
So Angela wants to know: have you seen grants for construction tech startups?
Yeah. There's actually so the agency that invests a lot in construction technology is the Department of Energy. So they have a whole program, in fact, about, here's another one, right? So here's some construction tech. This is specifically for advanced prefab zero carbon homes. I don't actually know what all that means. That's kind of an idea, but like maybe you do. Sorry, Angela.
Angela, yes.
Yeah, Angela, maybe you know what this means. I don't, but I did save it because I wanted to show, like, this is like a really specific project you could be doing in California, and you don't actually have to be in California, you just have your business, right? Like you need to have a business nexus to get this money. But the point being, there's funding for that. And, you'll find generally there's funding for like most of the stuff that you might want to do. You just have to know how to look. And so we try to make looking for it way easier by you tell us what you're building and we'll match you to those opportunities.
Oh, dope. Okay, so William is a buddy, and he went through TechStars Austin with me. Are there grants for LGBTQ plus owned businesses?
Yes, but once again, you'll find that like there's not that's not the thing to search for necessarily.
Oh, okay. So what do you search for?
Right. So you would search for whatever your business does. Now, what you'll find is that within any solicitation that's put out, both by foundations as well as other like government agencies, so they will fund specifically, like they might actually, it could be in this, right? So they might have a thing about prefab zero carbon homes, and they might actually say in their scoring, oh, we want to make sure, like we have a DEI, like a diversity mandate, and we want to make sure that X amount percentage of these awards go to these groups of folks. And so if you identify as, a part of a population that is included in these sort of diversity mandates and things that these agencies are pushing forward, you definitely want to lean into that, but you don't want to use it as your like primary search term, because you're not going to find a lot of stuff that way. You'll find, and there may be some things for sure, but like, so if you're an LGBTQ business owner, but your business is, doing, I don't know, construction, for example, you want to search for construction first, and then you'll find that those things will make you more competitive as an applicant, but you're not going to necessarily find a lot of things specifically just for like LGBTQ business owners. There are some programs, but there's not as many. But you will find
it's pretty nuanced, right?
Yeah.
This is what you're saying.
It really is.
But so that's why presumably it's important to put together a solid profile so that your software will then send. So if you put LGBTQ stuff, in your profile, you guys are going to send, when you send those 5 per week, is it, you said?
Yep.
You'll be looking for things with those words in it and send those to William. Is that how that works?
Exactly. And so you can see, for example, here, this profile is not very complete at all.
That's not mine, is it? I just created one a little while
Yeah.
ago.
It's not really complete, but you'll see there's an opportunity to create a personal profile, which is good to have. But the one you want to create is this organizational profile, and the platform will step you right through it if you sign up. But in this overview section, you want to have a good narrative about what you're trying to achieve and accomplish, and that will allow us to help really remove some of the nuance for all that searching. And hopefully make you some really good connections. And I'll just show you what those look like real quick. So when you log into the dashboard, you'll see there's these grant matches. And you can say no thanks or I like it, and that will continue to improve your matching over time. So just wanted to point that out. That is an important nuance, and it's it applies to a lot of the space, right? So you'll find, minority-owned businesses, LGBTQ plus, all that, all these different intersectional identities that we carry as human beings. A lot of them are wrapped into some of the scoring criteria of these programs, but they're not so much wrapped into the impact focus of the program.
Okay, so here's a good question. How much do grant writers cost, or do we use Chat GPT to apply? That's funny.
Yeah, no, I mean, so great question. I will say that we actually, we know of and work with, some groups that are doing that. There's some consultants I know who are, in the process of building things and doing things in that space with Chat GPT. And you could certainly attempt to. A lot of times, grant writers will be anywhere from $80 to $250 an hour, depending on what you need, right? So if you need if you're a deeply technical company, you need someone who has a PhD in physics or some such thing, you're going to find that obviously those folks cost quite a bit more. If you happen to be a nonprofit and you're getting funding for housing or something, those consultants might be a little bit less. The other thing to be aware of is that there are services out there, and we'll connect you with them as well. So you come on our platform, and I'll just show you right now. You can come on our platform, and you can filter by rate first if you want. And I'm going to do this to show you, these are the pro bono firms. These firms are paid by the federal government to help you get grant funding. And this isn't even the whole list. There's some other folks through what are called PTACs, Procurement Technical Assistance Services, that will also help you for free. And we refer the PTAC organizations through our support right here. So the PTACs are a little bit different, and there's not a core point person, but these are private firms that have federal contracts to help you go get grant funding. And so one of the exciting things about us, about what we're doing, is helping connect you to those resources. That being said, we can kind of clear that filter out if we want, and you can see, folks like this firm, right? Their hourly rate's $250. That's kind of their jumping off point, and you can look through and see what 100, and then you can just say you find someone, you're oh, this person's perfect. 75. You can click on this button and you can have us chat with them right here in the platform. And they're pretty responsive, so you can have a discussion, you can get into it. Obviously that's not going to cost you any money. And then if you decide you want to work with them, you can actually set up, it's like Upwork, right? They'll send you a proposal, you manage it all here. You kind of probably saw there's an invoice, right? So we mocked it up, of course, for this, but you can manage all your invoices, the whole project, deliverables, hours, track it all right here in the platform.
That's amazing. Okay, so here's another question. Is the system set up to aid in bulk applying to grants?
No, not really.
I
We
don't
do
see
have
that they
a
would be
vision of
either. They're all so different, right?
Yeah, that's the big thing. One thing we do, and we're working on, is creating the super app, right? that's the vision of the future, is like one place to apply for all the grant funding that you might need all at once. Unfortunately, right now, that's just not like a reality yet. But when you go and create your profile and upload the information that the platform asks you, you will end up with a lot of the details you will need, generally speaking. And then I do want to point out another resource here that is that I think is super helpful, that we published just a little while ago, which is we do have a library of funded opportunities. We have like a little library here, and you can go and look, and we have a full library of all of the funded proposals, from everything from government grants to foundation grants, and you can look it up and you can actually see like the full proposal that got funding and what it looked like, and so you can get a better idea of what goes into writing grants.
That was my next question. Perfect.
Yeah,
that's so good. So here's a question from Alexandra. How does using a grant writer increase your probability of getting a grant? Are most grants won by grant writers?
You're about 3 times more likely to be successful on your, like, I mean, you can obviously, there's a couple ways to get good at things in the world or get things accomplished, right? There's the school of hard knocks and learning on your own, or you can, hire someone who knows. I always kind of draw the analogy to a lawyer, right? The law is like something that's public. You can study it and you can learn it, or you could hire a lawyer and just pay them and have a much easier time of it. You're 3 times more likely to win if you have a good grant consultant working with you. And that doesn't mean you have to pay them to write it, right? You could just, obviously there's pro bono options, but there's also like, you could hire somebody to just review it and give you feedback, if you want to develop that ability internally. You could also, just hire them to have a few conversations and help you understand the process, or maybe put some templates in place for you. So there's a lot of options there. And then there's also programs that really just are easy to apply for. So I will say you don't have to use a grant writer in every engagement, but for the narrative-based, like lengthy proposals, you will be more successful, generally speaking, if you hire somebody, unless you know how to do this really well.
So you're saying you're 3x more likely if you get somebody else to do it. Like, what's the likelihood with if you pay someone versus one of these people who are subsidized by the government to do it for you? Are either one of those more successful, or is it about the same?
No, those folks are great. Honestly, you have to realize, the exciting thing is like the people who are paid by the government to help you were savvy enough to not only like get really good at writing grants, but they got so good that they figured out how to get a bunch of federal money to pay them to do that all the time. Like, they're experts.
Touche.
Top of their game.
That's a good point, right? They're so good. They got the government to pay them to help you write a grant.
Yep.
That's amazing. All right, everybody. So we have 7 minutes left. We got a hard stop at 3:30. Please, if you have more questions, drop your questions in. We'll do our best to get to as many of them as possible. Jacqueline Clemens says, I love this. Yes, we love you, Jacqueline. She's a beloved member of my foundation community. All right. So what happens if, you apply to a grant? What should you do?
If you don't get funded, and you've put together all the work, I mean, generally speaking, and this is another good reason to work with a good consultant, frankly, is, while this doesn't allow you to apply in bulk to grants, you can use stuff you've written other places. And so if you're a grant, consultant, or if you've done a good job, put together a good, compelling application, you can reuse that a lot. And you'll find that a lot of orgs do that. In fact, they'll reuse a lot of sections over and over again in subsequent applications. So you can take more shots on goal, of course. The other thing I highly suggest is, if you can get a meeting to debrief with the org that you applied for funding from, frequently they will do that, and they will engage in a discussion with you and tell you exactly why you didn't get funded as opposed to other projects. And that will really help you, because at the end of the day, this is an exercise of communication and aligning incentives. And when you don't get funded, it's because you failed to do one of those things well. And sometimes you fail to do both of them well. And so if you can have those meetings, you'll really get some good learning out of it. And that can help you in subsequent applications.
Go ahead. Sorry. Finish, please.
It's also a good way to like, you can frequently apply back like the next time they put out funding. And if you've, built the relationship there and they know you, and they're like, oh, this person's legit, that's, it's a good relationship.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping you were going to say. The point about being able to reach out to them and get feedback about why you didn't get the grant is super valuable, I think. And then you take that information and apply it the next time you apply for a grant. I think that's super, super helpful. So here's a question from Angela. I think you did say that it's free, right?
Well, it is free to sign up. You can upgrade for $29 a month. We'll do unlimited matching instead of just the $5 a week.
Okay.
So there's that. And then there is also the marketplace. So, if you decide to hire a consultant who requires compensation and you pay them, we have a 10% take rate in that marketplace. So that's part of our
business. Okay. So
but
they get paid. Okay.
Yeah, but the cool thing about what we do, and the reason we're able to do what we do at the costs we are, is because we actually our main revenue drivers, selling SaaS, basically subscriptions to agencies and other groups are interested in streamlining this process. So they want to understand who's applying for what and what are they searching for, where are they getting hung up, and those kinds of things. So we do, we provide data in aggregate, not personal data, but like data in aggregate to agencies, foundations, and other groups, and really help them, streamline the functionality of the grant funding ecosystem, which is difficult to navigate.
Amazing. So there's a comment from Kristen: saving answers to applications in a Notion doc is a huge help for accelerated applications or interview forums. That's a great point to do a similar thing for the grants. Yeah, absolutely. Such a good point. And she said, never thought to ask for feedback. That's huge, 100%. So my last question for you, Sedale, is, so how do we get the relationships that we need to connect with the right people at the grantors?
Yeah, so I think this is an important point here. Is like, grant funding is in many senses similar to sales, right? You don't want to cold call customers, right? You want a relationship. And that's one of the things that we are really excited about what we offer with our marketplace is, say you get on their platform, you find a few grants that you think are really interesting. I would suggest that you don't just go and apply out of the blue without ever having a phone call with those people. And you can, on our platform, you can click View Original, you'll go to the page wherever that grant lives, and you'll see contact information. Reach out, ask questions. If it's a government agency, go to the public meeting about it, right? Start to, associate and socialize yourself and your company and your org and what you're doing with the people who are awarding funding, so that when your application comes across their desk, they're like, oh yeah, I remember James, he's dope. Not just like, all right.
Hell yeah, James is dope. Come on now.
Yeah, right. So you don't want people to be like, I don't know who James is. All right. And the thing is, everyone else is doing this, right? So you want to play that, like, build the relationship, really lean into that, because at the end of the day, when we talk about incentives, one of the things that the grantor is looking to do is just look good. And they don't want to just to hand money to some person they don't know, because they're afraid, right? They're afraid that there might be a bad outcome. No matter how good your application is, it could be a crazy person. They don't know. So build that relationship. Definitely, to the extent you can, learn more about them, socialize yourself and your org to them before you send an application in.
Awesome. So William just said he signed up. Excited to see how this can help out at. And thank you, James Sedale, for putting this together. That's what I love to hear, baby.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, man. So visit opengrants.io. Sedale, how can people connect with you? You're pretty active on Twitter, right?
Yep. Twitter's great. Turbovsky. LinkedIn, I'm also on there. You can just Google me. It's a unique combination of names, right? Like Sedale by itself.
There's no one else.
Yeah, it's what happens when you're a mixed kid. Yeah. You get the weird names together. So
I'm jealous of the hair. I'll say that. That's just me, though.
No, that's how to track me down. And we'd love to be helpful. And I also want to just throw out there, our intrepid support team is available on the platform. I sent them a ticket. James had an issue with one of his accounts earlier, no fault of his own. So if you ever do run into problems on the platform, let us know, reach out. We have a great support team, great success team. We're here to help and be a
Yes.
resource.
Look at that. Angela said she signed up. I signed up this morning. This is amazing. All right. So thanks, everybody. Founders, if you're a founder, you're looking for an amazing community, we have incredible events like this that we do all the time, as well as other resources for you in our community. You can visit our joinkabila.com, join our community. If you're looking for a co-founder, you can go to joinkabila.com and get on our wait list. Our co-founder matching app is currently in alpha. We'll be expanding that to beta pretty soon and letting more people on. So visit those things. Check us out. Look at that. Another person just signed up. Alexandra just signed up. Joe's like, awesome. Thanks. This is amazing. Hey, Sedale, if you can hang out for like 2 seconds when I end this thing here, I had a quick question for you. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. See you next time. Oh, pretty soon, we're going to have another event coming up middle of February with Divisible Hands VC folks. They have another fellowship coming, paying I think like $50,000 of founders. I'm scheduling an event with Dom from TechCrunch, who's been writing all these articles about Black and BIPOC and women founders not getting VC funding. She's going to come and talk to y'all about how to pitch reporters of her ilk. This is very important because she gets tons of bad pitches. So yes, thank you, Kristen. We appreciate you so much. And we'll see y'all next time. Hang on 1 second, Sedale. Hasta la próxima. See everybody. Bye.
Ciao.